I want to bring in Dr. Ndu Nwokolo. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Next Year SBD. He's currently in Abuja. Dr. Nwokolo, thank you for joining me on the program this morning. And I know that you've been hearing, about this Russian military missile attacks on a military arsenal in Odessa, and how, they're destroying weapons that were donated by countries like the US and other Western countries, for Ukraine to help the forces fight against the Russian troops which have invaded the country. How much of an impact do you think that this will have on the war, especially on the Ukrainian side?
Thank you for having me, Amarachi. First, I think this will extend the war, and there's the likelihood the West will want to up the arsenal by bringing more resources. If you look at this war, initially we thought it was going to be a kind of an asymmetrical conflict where Russia will walk in and walk out, but it's not playing that way. Ukraine has resisted them and will continue to resist them with the approval of more arms coming from the United Kingdom. And what we see, America asking the Congress to approve more budget, Germany donating more arms. We're in for a long day. So it's not as what Russia thought it would be. But the entire thing is, how will this continue to affect the global politics? How will this continue to affect global development in terms of food and other forms of human development? So Russia will continue to pound in more arms, more attack on Ukraine. And with the arms coming in from the West, Ukraine will continue to resist it. So it has really moved from an asymmetrical war that we thought it could be to what we see to be a situation where Ukraine is living up to what an expectation Russia didn't expect. Now, what we're seeing is that we're looking at a situation where you have a proxy war from the West helping Ukraine to resist Russia. So it will continue to go that way for a time until negotiation and other forms of other issues begin to play out that people need to take to the tables. For now, this is what we're seeing.
What would be fair in this war? And I ask this question because, Russia has threatened these countries that are supplying Ukraine with weapons, saying they will also get a taste of what's been going on in Ukraine. We've heard rumors of the Russian government planning to send missiles all the way to the UK. And, Russia also threatening other neighbors around Ukraine for their support as well. But here you are also, on the side of, these Western countries also still supplying weapons, still making this huge military fundings available to the Ukrainian government to help, to purchase weapons, to support the government in some way or the other, to fight this war. What would be fair ground for this, what would be a fair ground in this war when you look at it?
In war, propaganda is the game. So misinformation and disinformation is allowed. You are allowed to even say what you cannot even do, but what you can even imagine. So Russia knows the capability of some of the countries that it may not dare to attack. Now remember, it's almost like NATO through a proxy means fighting Russia. So Russia knows that it might not go that route. It might still want to just to pump up the volume and try to show that they have the capability to defend themselves and attack. Now, it's equally important for us to understand that why I said misinformation and disinformation is allowed, that propaganda is the game. Incidentally, like what happened yesterday or day before yesterday with the Russian foreign minister talking about the Holocaust and the issue of Hitler having a Nazi's blood. Israel had wanted to be neutral in the game, but they've finally drawn Israel into the game. And now remember that there are you have Russian Jews, you have Jews in Germany, and you have Jews around the world who, each time issues of the Holocaust is mentioned, or anything that has to do with Hitler, it brings out all the sentiments in them. So I think that was a wrong statement. So Jewish-led countries or Jewish people who have been neutral about this game are now saying, after all, if we are drawn into the game, then be it. So what we're seeing is that everybody is trying to look at where best serves my position. Do I stay neutral or do I join the war? So it's important for us to understand that. And from what I'm looking at, that statement have to be withdrawn, or otherwise, countries that have been neutral might decide, especially where you have a lot of Jewish interests, are likely to, and it will be a long journey for Russia, and that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I know that this might not be a fair question to ask, and neither will it be, I don't know how people would see this, but, we had someone talk about, this war yesterday, and it was about the benefits, who's benefiting from this war. You have countries that are making arms to be sent to Ukraine. You have countries that are supplying, funding, for the purchase of military weapons. You have countries that are sending in, humanitarian provisions, for Ukraine, and there are countries that are also helping Ukrainians also settle. So who is benefiting from this war apart from Russia that intends to overtake and run over a legitimate government in Ukraine?
Everyone can benefit from it, Amarachi. We once talked about this book, this classical book I always mention, Games Nations Play. And remember the last time we spoke, I said, what can Africa benefit from this? 2 days ago, our Minister for State for Petroleum talked about Nigeria having $803 trillion worth of gas. And I'm asking, what are we doing? We should be talking to European Union to start investing in clean energy in Africa, in Nigeria. Not because South Africa is saying, no, we want to support Russia. Nigeria should be supporting the European Union to come and invest in Africa. Let it be what we are going to benefit from it. Everybody has something to benefit from. So I think that's what we should be benefiting from it. Everybody, those who are producing arms are going to benefit. So we should be benefiting something. Russia, because after this whole thing, there will be reconstruction. Most of the companies that will reconstruct Ukraine will be coming from the West. And about the last 2 or 3 days, Russia decided to cut off gas supply to Bulgaria and Romania. And the ministers of energy from the European Union will be meeting to decide on what next to do. So African countries that are producing gas should be sending delegates to the European Union now to say, come on, we are not your enemies. Come and invest in clean energy in Africa. So I think everybody has the opportunity of benefiting, and be strategic about it and be realistic about it and go for it.
Sad but true. Dr. Ndwo Okolo, thank you for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.